So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my entire color grading workflow inside of DaVinci Resolve using the Dehancer plugin. We'll be talking about my color management, my node tree structure, and the settings that I've been using recently inside of the Dehancer plugin to get that nice filmic look. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm not a colorist by any means, but I just love the color grading process. So without further ado, let's jump into the Dehancer website so I can talk a little bit more about what Dehancer is. Let's go. So what is Dehancer? It is a film emulation plugin. They've got over 60 different film emulations that you can apply to your footage across all these different platforms or softwares. The one we're going to be looking at today is DaVinci Resolve. And the team over at Dehancer has kindly given me a discount code. So if you wish to support me and get yourself a 10% discount, you can just simply type in the code JamesNZ and you'll get 10% off your purchase. So yeah, that's a little bit about Dehancer. Let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and we'll go through my color grading workflow. All right, we are now in DaVinci Resolve and I thought I'd do this by breaking it down into 4 different clips across different cameras so you can see that it works with any camera you wish to shoot on. So this one here is on a Canon C50 in C-Log2, the same as this one here. This one here is on a DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro in D-Log-M, and then this one here is with my drone, which is the DJI Air 3S, also in D-Log-M. So first thing we want to do is make sure our color space is all set up properly, our color management. So I like to edit in a DaVinci wide gamut timeline color space with the output color space of Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. I've seen a lot of people use Rec 709A, so feel free to jump on that if you are on a Mac. I am on a Mac, but I just think I get pretty good results with Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. Alright, so first thing we want to do is convert this from our log into our Rec 709 profile, so I like to do that first, and this is using my own custom power grade that I've made and fine-tuned over the years. So I've got it pre-set up, so apply grade, and then this is my node tree structure here. So node 1, we just have our input color space, which is our Canon Cinema Gamut to C-Log2, and then into a DaVinci Wide Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate color space. All my nodes inside here, and then our final node is our Rec 709, or from DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. And then we do all our grades inside of those 2 nodes here to offer the most flexibility, and I found that I get real better consistent results with it. So first thing we want to do is pick a point in our video that we want to sort of use as our hero frame. We'll just pick this one here. Sometimes I like to go along and color balance the image first before I add the Dehancer, but for this situation we'll just do it a straight drag and drop. So Dehancer node here is on the back, on the second to last one, effects, and then I've just typed in Dehancer, so it should pop up for you too if you've got it. Drag and drop that on there, and you'll see that it automatically inputs a look to it already. We don't want that, so we're going to scroll all the way down, disable all tools, and then we'll scroll back up and change our input source from Rec 709 to DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. This one. Alright, now with the fun stuff starts. So we are going to be looking at applying our film look, so enable that. And so this is Kodak Vision 250D, and this is where you get the whole range of different sort of looks. So you've got Fujifilm Insta, you've got Kodak Plus. That one actually looks pretty good. Maybe we'll go for that one. Your Kodak Portraits, yeah, heaps of different looks in here. What was that one? That was the Kodak Plus 200. I think that looks the best. We'll enable that. We want to then go down to our film developer, enable that. Film compression, enable that. We'll come back to these. But here, this is where the magic happens inside the print. So enable that one. And we've got our 4 options down here, or 5 options. You've got linear, Cineon film log, your Fujifilm 3513 print, yeah, Kodak 2383 print, and then the Kodak Endura glossy paper, which I think we'll use that one. Alright, so now we can start sort of working with our image, and sometimes I'll actually like to go back over to my node tree over here, outside of the Dehancer, and let's add a little bit of contrast, make sure our editable splines are on. And if you see me looking over this way, it's because I've got my reference monitor set up here, which is on the Mac, because I just like to use that. My display monitor over here isn't the best, so I'll sort of go off my MacBook. Let's add a bit of contrast, just with a bit of an S curve. Go along to our balance, so we might just turn the shadows down a smidge. Alright, let's go along to our white balance. It's looking a little bit purple, so let's introduce a little bit of green. It's all subjective, this, so whatever you think is best for your image. Alright, let's go back into Dehancer now. So let's add a little bit more saturation here. So with the color boost wheel, we can see here it's really starting to bring some of the colors back out now. I think we'll sit about there's looking pretty good. Our film compression, so impact is kind of like that traditional film roll-off, that highlight roll-off that you can see here affecting the highlights. So you've got there with it on 0 is your harsh highlights, and then you sort of the roll-off. So we'll keep that about there. Our white point, again, affecting our highlights. I don't mind a little bit of highlights coming through. Tonal range, affecting a little bit of contrast. Looks good. Color density. I like to sort of increase this a bit as well to give a bit of richness back into the image. Black and white point, let's enable that. Again, this sort of does the contrast as well, your black and white levels. I think, yeah, looks good. Let's just turn that on and off, see where we've come from. So just subtle, but it's looking good so far. Looking good there. Alright, give it a little colour density up on there. So really just have a play around. It's just all sliders at the end of the day, so you can just sort of slide it back and forth and get a desired look that you're going for. So again, this is your tonal contrast. It's looking pretty good. Here's some fun parts here as well. So we've got our film grain. Let's enable a bit of grain to bring some of that film look out. Now 35mm ISO 250 is a bit too strong for me, so I kind of like to sit in that 65mm ISO 50 range, or for this image maybe ISO 250. Yeah, that looks looking good. And then you can sort of bring the grain in and out, as you can see there. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's add some halation. And again, I sort of keep it, if you sort of go to the 8mm, it really infiltrates it in here. You can see on the edge of the images, and the edge of the contrasty edges, it's really showing up there, and you can sort of amplify it to make it exaggeration. Again, I like to sort of go that 35mm Super 35 look, and then just tone it back so it's kind of subtle but still noticeable. Bloom, let's add some bloom into the image. Again, if you chuck it on 8mm, it's going to really amplify the image to get that real nice soft dreamy look if you're going for that. But again, I like to sort of put it at that 35mm. a little scrub over, so that's starting to look real nice now. I never really touch the film damage. That's sort of, if you chuck it to 8mm, it's where you sort of get those speckly film damage look. Super niche, but we'll turn that off. Same with film breath, I don't really enable that, but just for the sake of the video, I'll show you what it does. It sort of just gives that sort of fluttery look into the image. You can see it sort of cycling through like the image is breathing. Gate weave, I don't normally touch this as well, but that sort of brings that gate in and out. Overscan, I'll sometimes play with this if I'm sort of wanting to desired look. Whether you've got all your different looks, you've got your Super 35, which is cool, your standard 16s, Ultra 16s, widescreen. So if you want to dial all those in, it's pretty cool, but for the sake of this, we'll leave it off. Vignette I'll sometimes include as well, which is if you want to sort of focus more on the subject. It's looking pretty cool. Let's see where we've come from, so it's really looking a bit more filmy now, which is what we want. And now, so the output here, this is the total impact. So at the moment it's at 100% intensity, I guess you can say, but you can sort of dial it back. So that's our, I guess, our Rec 709 image, and then you can slowly bring in the film. So I sort of typically leave it around the 70 to 100 mark. And then for quality here, for the sake of this video, my laptop is quite old, so we'll just leave that on normal fast. But if you've got the time and you've got a powerful computer or editing device, chuck it on high quality, and it'll render at a better quality. But that's looking really nice, as you can see, with just a simple load of the Dehancer. You get a nice film looking image with a few little tweaks here and there. And I might actually have a quick look at our skin. So I've got a designated skin node in my node tree here. And how I do that is I grab the qualifier, sort of head in, select a bit of the skin, Shift H, and just try and isolate as much of the skin as I can. That. Bring our vector scope back up. Yep, 2 times, so you can see there the skin's in a little bit more reddish. Add a bit of blur radius to that, bit of denoise. Bring across here, and let's bring some of the skin back, and I think I might add a little bit of saturation to it as well, a bit more life back into the skin tones. And there we go, that's looking pretty good there. So we just toggle that node on and off. It's adding a bit more warmth, more life back into those skin tones. And yeah, I'm looking pretty happy with how this image is looking so far. So if we turn all our nodes off and work through it. So we started with our DaVinci wide gamut intermediate from our color space, our Canon C-Log 2, and then if we turn on the output node there, so we've got our Rec 709 image here. We did a little bit of balancing and we add a little bit of contrast to the image, but obviously most of the work was done here in Dehancer, so turn that on and we get a nice filmic little look here. So that's our first image done. Let's move across to our second one. This is on a Canon C50 as well in C-Log 2. So let's go back to our power grades, add our conversion LUT or our power grade to convert it back to Rec 709. And let's drop Dehancer on there and let's get going. Automatically it's going to put a whole lot of stuff we don't want on there, so disable all tools. Change this again to DaVinci wide gamut intermediate, and let's start having a look through what profiles look best. So enable that, the Codec Vision 250D. And let's just have a look at a few different ones. Quite a lot of teal happening here, purple, yeah, nice. Kodak Color Plus. We've got here Kodak Gold 200. Oh yeah, I like that one. Let's stick with that one. So we've got the Kodak Gold 200, and then you've also got a push and pull EV here, so you can see sort of changing the image as well. I quite like it up the warmer side. Film developer, let's enable that. And film compression, enable that. Enable our expansion. Alright, print where the fun stuff happened. Let's go Kodak 2383 and enable that. There we go. So we're already looking a little bit overexposed here and not much contrast. So I'm actually going to go into my contrast node here and manually add some contrast using the S curves here. And we'll just bring a little bit of that up and start to introduce some. There we go. It's looking much better there. So we've got quite a heavy S curve. And I'm kind of sort of just looking around the general image part here and get a desired contrast look. So there we go. If we just turn that on and off, we've come a long way with just the contrast there. Okay, back into Dehancer. And again, this is just the contrast as well. Let's go to color density, bring that richness out. And we want to find our color boost. So you can see there's X is like a saturation. So I think that's looking good there. So that's what our Dehancer is doing at the moment. I quite like the look of that. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Let's head down. Let's have a look at our tonal contrast. What can we play with here? It's looking nice. Exposure EV. Bring the exposure down a smidge. These are all quite micro increments here, but a little subtle movement goes a long way. We didn't talk about this one in the last clip, but we'll just enable it for the sake of this video. So this is kind of, I guess, like your split toning in a way. So we've got our yellow and blue channels here. Cool, we'll bring that towards the warmer side. Our magenta and our green. Oh yeah, I like that. And then our cyans and reds. Yeah, and introduce a little bit more red. That's looking really nice. That's looking nice there. Our mid-tones. Introduce a little bit more warmth into our mid-tones. Highlights, a bit more warmth as well. Shadows, if we bring it down, it's going to be into the cooler side, but so that teal and orange look. Just bring it down slowly. Alright, so I'm really liking the look of this image at the moment. Let's add some film grain. And again, that's probably a bit too much. So we'll drop down to 60mm 250 and then bring the intensity down a bit. Actually, I'm going to go 65mm ISO 50. So it's still there, as you can see in the shirt here. You can kind of see the grain quite a bit there. So if we turn that on and off, You can really see the grain coming through, and even into the Land Rover as well. So we might even just bring that down a little bit more. Or should we? Here. So better. Add some halation. So it's probably a bit too much. Yeah, we'll just bring it back. It's real subtle. You can see that there. You can even see the waveforms moving, and same with the vector scope when you enable and disable that. Oh, sorry, that was the film grain. Sorry, the halation shifts the waveforms as well. Add a bit of bloom. Yeah, that looks nice. Again, 8mm will be too much. Yeah, that's looking nice there. I might even add a little bit of vignetting to this one, just to draw the eye back to the subject there. There we go. The image is looking real nice. So with a few tweaks of the sliders and a few micro instruments, we get a really good looking image. So again, if we just disable all this, we start with our Rec 709 image. We added some contrast, and we just enable all these nodes here, and enable that one. But then of course most of our work was done here in Dehancer, and we're able to get a nice filmic image with not much amount of time. And then what you can do, if you wanted to, is if you're happy with that, save that as a still, and then it could even work with other videos that you've got as well, and you can just sort of make micro instruments from there. But that's another. Let's move on to the DJI D-Gamut or D-Log M clip now. Okay, so we've got the first of our DJI clips here that we're going to use. This was just a mounted action camera onto the Land Rover. So we're going to go up and add our DJI D-Log conversion LUT. Same thing again, this is my node tree, and we're using DJI D-Gamut, and because this is on the Action 5, it's not a true log profile, so I just use Rec 709 rather than the D-Log. I think the D-Log one just sort of gives it a little bit too much saturation. So Rec 709, and then our last node, of course, is just converting it from DaVinci YGAM Intermediate to Rec 709 2.4. So let's jump in. Chuck a Dehancer plugin on. Like before, disable all of these, change this to DaVinci YGAM Intermediate, and start looking at some profiles. So enable our film. Which one's going to look good? Looks pretty good. Nice subtle look. Let's go with that one. So Kodak Vision 350D. Let's enable our print. And for this one, we'll go our Kodak Glossy. So already that's starting to look like a really nice image. If we just disabled Dehancer, sort of brought that teal into the image. But we're not done there. Let's carry on. Yeah, like that. Let's add a little bit of contrast, a bit of color boost, bring some more saturation into the image. And I'm sort of also just being mindful of my scopes here as well, because you don't want to push the image too far that you start to oversaturate things. So that's getting almost to the point where we're clipping the saturation on the cyans, which you can see is probably coming up through in here. If we turn our qualifier on, yeah, you can see the cyans mostly in there. It's almost getting clipped. See, that's going to be way too saturated. But that's probably pretty good about there. Let's enable black point. For this part, I'm sort of just looking over in here, just making sure we've got a nice true representation of what the image was probably doing at the time of recording. So that would have been a little bit darker. Nice. Awesome, so I'm really liking the look of that. Let's start adding some of our film grain back in. Again, I'm going to go 65, ISO 50. Looks good. Bit of halation as well. And then our bloom. You can see the bloom around these part of the windshield here on the real contrasty edges here. You can see that if I actually change this to 8mm, you'll really see it. To 35. There we go. Just like that, we've got a real nice clean looking image. I'd say that's pretty happy with that. Let's just go into our contrast and maybe add a little bit of our own little S curve here. Just to enrich the colours a little bit more. It's looking good. Back to our Dehancer. And let's go up to our colour density here and make the colours a little bit more richer. Good. And we'll have a play with our colour head as well. A bit cooler in the magenta. Oh, sorry, we got a name of that. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Bit more magenta in there. Maybe a bit more reds for that golden hour warmth feel. Bit of coolness to our shadows. A bit of warmth to our midtones, and the same with our highlights there. And again, you can sort of adjust the impact, so that's kind of what it was before we adjusted any of these, and now our full strength, that's looking really nice. That is looking good. I like the look of this. So as you can see there, with not much time, you can sort of play around and get a real nice image. So we just disable the Dehancer one. So that's our essentially our Rec 709 look with a little bit of contrast. But as you can see, most of our work is done using just one node, Dehancer. That's looking good. All right, let's move on to our final clip, which is the drone clip. What we might do, just for the sake of this video, grab a still from this and see what it looks like if I was to try and apply that look straight to the drone clip. So yeah, it kind of works, and you could probably fiddle around with that and some more to get a desired look you're going for, but let's just stick to our procedures. Convert that to Rec 709, grab our Dehancer, drop that in, disable wide gamut intermediate. As you can see here, we're a little bit too overexposed in the cyan, so for that what I might do is come across to my warper node here, grab our color wheels and the density, bring the density down, and then the saturation, bring the saturation back, and you can see over here our cyans are now dropping, which is into a realistic value there. As you can see, before it was way too saturated. There we go, you can see if we turn that on and off. Back to Dehancer. Enable our film look. So that actually already looks like it could work. But let's actually, no, that one's, I like that one. Let's go with that one. Codec Vision 50D. Print, let's change our print to Codec 2383, enable that. Oh, that's looking nice already. But obviously we can make it much better than that. Let's play around with our exposure tool. So yeah, I reckon we need to brighten it up a bit. Put that in. Let's add a little bit more saturation, bring some of the, there we go. Oh, our cyans are getting too much again. So we might have to come back across to our warper, tune our cyans right back. That was why actually they're not actually too overexposed, my bad. It's just because I had the 2-time indicator on, so that's actually more representation of what we can push it to. So it's still back to the enhancer, a bit more color boost. Alrighty, let's carry on. Film compression, enable that. So you can see there, get the film roll off right, it'll make sort of the image back here a bit more sharper, less haziness. Got a lot of blue going on in this image. I think we'll go down, include our density, make it a bit more richer. Good. All right, color head. I reckon we can make it look good from this one. So enable that. It's looking good. Bit more yellows in there. Bit of magenta. And I think introduce some more reds. It's good. Shadows. We want to warm the image up a bit. There. So since we've got a lot of blues still, I might just bring to my colour, my balance and exposure. We might just get the parade up, and then you can see there's a lot of blue, so we're going to come across here, take a little bit out. Kind of just balance the image a bit better. Here we go, I'm happy with that. There, that's looking good. Alright, add some film grain. 65mm 250, yep, that's looking good. Let me turn the halation. Probably won't see much in this one because there's not much contrasting edges, sharp edges you can see. Bloom, you can see the little bloom coming through over here, especially up onto these rocks. Gives that nice soft dreamy look. I like the look of this. Might just add a little bit of vignette as well. Yeah, that's looking good. So obviously you could play around with this a lot more if you wanted to fine tune it with sort of masking your windows, power windows, and isolating different colors by using the color picker if you wanted to. We could go along with this. Isolate those. So I think they're a little bit too orange, and we could sort of come back to our vector scope. Yeah, a little bit too orange. We could sort of bring them down into the greens a little bit. Hopefully by just bringing like that. There we go. That's sort of balance the image up a little bit more as well. There's a few ways you could do this. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Might just add a little bit of contrast. S curve. There we go. Turn that on and off. It's looking good. Alright, so yeah, we started again with our conversion LUT to Rec 709. Add some contrast, balance the image a bit. We added some some colors to take away some of the reds, the warmth. Turn those on. And then we finished with our main node, the Dehancer, and as you can see there, really does all the heavy lifting just in one node. So if you've made it that far, thank you so much for tuning in. That was actually quite a lot of fun, just sort of breaking down my workflow. But yeah, if you're interested in Dehancer, use the code JamesNZ. It'll get you 10% off at the checkout. But yeah, that's my workflow on Dehancer and the way I use it within DaVinci Resolve. So if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel so I can bring more videos like this to you guys. So appreciate it, and thanks very much.